Hey everyone, this is Jane with Barlow Herbal and Dr. Brandon Nielsen in the house, and we're going to talk about your beautiful lung health. Now, one of the things that we need to remember when we're taking care of our lungs is that this is a system that we have to pay close attention to because our very life depends on it. Now, I say that because think about how long you can go without food. You can go without food for a long time before your physical body isn't sustainable anymore. You can even go without water for a certain amount of time. But we can't go without oxygen for such a short period of time that taking care of these beautiful lungs that allow us to not only breathe in the oxygen and stay alive, but it helps to circulate oxygenated blood throughout our whole vascular system.
Yeah.
So I know you were telling me before we started recording that you just had some experience with some allergies and some stuff that affected your lungs, right?
Oh yeah, big time. And
Yeah.
and I think it's important to see how like a doctor overcame those, right? Because
You're a doctor.
yeah, I am a doctor.
You almost made it sound like you were talking about someone else.
a doctor. No, that's me.
You're the real deal.
Yeah. So we had gone to Arkansas for the total eclipse. I got some crazy allergies, and they weren't just upper respiratory. I started noticing them getting into my lungs and kind of having a hard time, like almost like an asthmatic response, which isn't typical for me. Come back to Utah, get everything taken care of. So what was I taking? I was taking some homeopathic specifically for like allergies, kind of like an asthma type histamine response, or what's called a eosinophils response, so an allergic response. I started taking, that was mainly it, and then I started doing a little nebulizing our silver. So I cleared out, I'm good. So about a week later, we head to Boise. So I go to Boise, and what was crazy is I got hit. I mean, like my lungs got hit really hard. In fact, I was telling Jolene, like, I got to get out of here because I didn't bring any remedies with me or anything. But I started feeling my lungs like getting restricted, and I just couldn't get out of there fast enough because it was turning into, man, like almost like an asthma response. And my lungs, in fact, you could hear wheezing. I'd breathe in and it'd go, I'd breathe out. I mean, yeah.
I've never known you like that.
I know. So I was kind of like, what's going on? Well, interestingly enough, my father-in-law had some lung stuff. He kind of had and I actually think it was something related to allergies that turned into an infection, almost like a pneumonia, okay, or a deep bronchitis. For him. Mm. So the thing that really changed and cleared things when he started turning a corner is when we started having him nebulize our colloidal silver.
Yeah, and there's actually a video I'm going to put below this that I've pulled off of your channel.
Okay.
Teaching people how to use a nebulizer.
Oh, perfect.
So there'll be a link below
the compressor
this video.
style nebulizer.
Yeah.
Yep. So I had him do that like probably four times a day at 7 minutes, and that's when everything changed for him. He was still doing his other things, but for me, so then I come back from Boise, and I was kind of like, wow, I'm concerned this could turn into pneumonia. Okay, so I use a product called Immunotics 250 or 500. And it's so cool because they took marathon runners. So a very common thing for aggressive, competitive marathon runners is they get pneumonia after running a marathon.
Because their lungs take so much work.
Their lungs take so much work, and they get a little bit of fluid in their lungs. And so oftentimes it's very common that they'll get a little pneumonia after a very hard marathon because their lungs, so much work, they get a little bit of inflammation on the lungs, it drains down, and now they have fluid in the lungs called pneumonia. So I took a product called Immunotics, and I mean we could even put links to them so people can get them.
We'll
but
put
Immunotics.
Mm-hmm.
So I started taking 500 twice a day, and then I took pneumotrophine and then an herbal of very similar to your lung blend. I didn't have your lung blend, same thing, but an herbal lung blend. So was taking three things, and then the thing that really saved me again was the nebulization. So I was nebulizing about 4 to 5 times a day, and I test myself. And you guys, in order to heal lungs completely, you have to stress the lungs slightly. So I'm very cautious, but the next day I went and worked out. I mean, I'm still wheezing, but I worked out. Did I work out as hard? No. In fact, I sat down and I told my buddies, I'm like, I got to sit out. I got to sit this one out because I couldn't breathe very well. And the other thing that I do is I try to cough and really get as deep as I can go. So one of the things that I do when there's really deep infection in the lungs is I'll actually exhale and tighten my lungs as hard as I can. So I'll show you how I do it. What that will do, I'm not coughing now, that used to make me cough. So I try to squeeze my lungs as hard as I can. You can hear still just a little bit of wheeze, but what it does is it causes all those little bags of air to constrict, and if there's any inflammation, what it will do is it'll cause a cough response. So I was trying to elicit a cough response. Again, I'm stressing my lungs very cautiously because if I start coughing too much, then you'll start bleeding internally, and you can feel that kind of when you cough too hard, you'll feel the blood coming up, or you can taste it, okay? So what I did is very cautiously stress my lungs. Then at one night, I actually ran to my office and I had to grab my oxygen machine because I wasn't breathing very well. And
Wow.
I didn't want, when I laid down, I couldn't breathe very well. And I was like, I've got to sleep. I'm not going to sleep sitting up. I just said, it was like 2 a.m. I said, Jolene, I'm running to the office. She's like, what are you doing? I'm running to the office. I got to get the oxygen concentrator. So I did, and I've been able to completely come out of it. But again, in order to heal lungs, you actually have to very cautiously stress your lungs. Whether for some of you, it might be walking. I had one lady, and this is very interesting, one lady who she could not, I started having her stress her lungs through like Wim Hof breathing. Mm-hmm. She could do one breath. No joke. She could not walk from here to the curb, like from here to the sidewalk. She couldn't do it without, could not breathe. So I said, all you're going to do is take one deep breath. That was her exercise. From one deep, we started with 2 deep, and she kept building up. So that's why I say in order, just like the lungs, I think of them as an organ that we can exercise. And if you don't exercise them, they'll stay stagnant. But you've got to get those big, deep breaths into the lungs, start filling that up with air, and then being able to expel all that CO2, and then be able to take another big breath. So a lot of the exercises I'll use is, of course, exercise, working out, a type of cardio that brings your heart rate up and your breathing up. I will use like Wim Hof breathing or some type of a deep, almost like inhalation, exhalation, really deep, rapid. But you have to start out very slow because if you stress it too far, you can actually get in trouble.
Yeah. And I mean, it reminds me of when I do different meditations where they have you take a deep breath and hold it at the top. And then you release after you hold it. And the person who's guiding you through the meditation will actually, because actually they're guiding you through breath work.
Right.
And you don't think you can hold it for, they're saying, okay, 10 more,
Right.
10 more seconds.
Right.
And then you release it slowly. And then when you empty your lungs completely, like I could totally remember this from a lot of the breathing exercise I do, you basically, after you empty your lungs completely, then you hold it there.
Right.
And I will tell you, when you do these breathing exercises, just simple, you could go on and find breath work, different things that will guide you through breath work. You could even do breath work for beginners. I never really thought about it on that level of keeping your lungs healthy because I've never ever had problems with my lungs.
Yeah.
I might have had a cold or a flu over the years as just a living human being, but I've cleared them out very quickly. And
Right.
I've never had, because I'm always exercising, mostly hiking. In fact, I did a huge hike this last weekend, and it was very steep for the first mile, and it made me, I had to stop along the trail a couple times because I was so out of breath.
Yeah.
Just to catch my breath, but I didn't let myself get all the way. And when you're exercising your lungs like that, for the most part, you won't ever have problems.
You won't. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And I knew I was going to recover quickly too, because I'm like, man, my lungs are in such good health. It's weird that I got smacked down like that.
Yeah.
And I recovered quickly, but seriously, the key, really a big key, I feel like, are those things, and then doing the nebulizer.
Yeah. So there's a playlist on my YouTube, and there's a little video from your YouTube channel that shows you how to do a nebulizer, and I'll put the direct link below this video.
Perfect.
It's actually really good. So here's a list of things that are tips in taking care of your lungs and supporting natural healing. Because to me, it's about being proactive, it's about preventative, And also, when you do these things, it not only helps your lung and your respiratory system, it helps all your other systems and organs as well when you take care of your lungs. So I'm going to go through this list really quick and then have you jump in. Quit smoking. Now, avoid air pollution. Okay, this can be a little easier said than done, but for the most part, if you're able to get out of a place where there's a lot of stuff that you'll be breathing in and you can avoid it, that's great.
We use air purifiers.
Yes, and in your own home, use an air purifier.
Make sure you change your filter out regularly. I get usually the highest, best kind.
Yes, and we're talking about regular filters through your heating system, your air conditioning system.
Change out your filter, but I also use like a HEPA filter in addition to that in certain rooms.
Yep, and that's really good. Of course, exercise regularly, practice deep breathing, maintain a healthy diet.
Deep breathing, deep divers are some of the best to learn exercises. So that's where I learned how to do the where you just keep trying to fill up your lungs with oxygen and increase your lung capacity. Deep divers. Anyways.
No, but you know what? When I've actually done some breath work, and especially guided breath work, and they ask you like to take another sip of air and another sip of air and another sip of the air.
I do 3 sips.
Yeah, and have you ever gotten to a point where you kind of get a little lightheaded? You just got,
it's like,
and then you let it out.
How can I get any more in there? I've like got all the sips I can get.
Yeah, I think it's really awesome. Maintain a healthy diet. Stay hydrated. Avoid respiratory irritants. Now, I really like this. And this is things like, avoid exposure to irritants like strong chemicals, dust, and secondhand smoke. What? You want to say something?
Oh, I do. I didn't tell you that like a week before all this, and this is what led to my lungs, is I had done some painting at the office and I accidentally used an incorrect paint that had a high amount of VOCs, and it actually went through my mask because I always wear a respirator mask.
Yeah.
That's where my lungs got weakened from.
Yeah.
And it was the chemicals. And so I always wear a mask, but it was able to still penetrate through that because of the type of paint it was. And that's where I made a mistake, actually.
Well, so use precautions, and also know that if something like that happens, where there's maybe a little bit of something that you weren't thinking about and
I made
realizing, but our lungs heal. Our lungs know how to heal.
Your lungs can heal. That is an organ that definitely can heal, and quite quickly as you gently stress it and heal it.
And honestly, if you look at all the organs and all everything that, like every 30 days we have brand new skin. Your lungs take about 6 to 8 months to have completely new lung tissue. Now, sometimes it can heal quicker with, what are those little things inside your lungs that get damaged?
Alveoli?
Yeah. So that's probably, because you healed quicker than 6 months.
Oh, yeah.
So there are deeper lung issues and lung problems that might take a little bit longer.
And something, you guys do need to heal lungs, because what I found is lungs are an area that will create a pattern and it will keep going back to that.
Yeah.
So people say, I got pneumonia, and now every time I get a little cough, I get pneumonia again.
Yeah.
Yes, lungs are an area you need to do the work and get those things strong and healthy once again.
Yeah.
To avoid that pattern.
I couldn't agree more. Is that your phone?
Yeah,
okay.
You're okay.
Okay, so practice good posture.
Yes. Practice good posture. Awesome.
Use herbal remedies. Do you want to go grab that?
Yeah, for sure.
Go grab it. I'll keep talking here. So some of the things that are really important, he forgot to mute his phone.
No, it's an alarm. It's letting me know.
It's letting you know you need to go.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we'll finish up.
So we're going to wrap this up. So, and this is my little area of expertise. Herbs like mullein, lungwort, plantain. One of my favorite is osha root. Is really good for your respiratory. And I actually love to collect mullein and put it infuse it and not infuse, but extract it in alcohol. Your alarm totally threw me off. It's okay.
Sorry about
that.
No,
no, it's totally okay. So I think, and then one more thing: stress management, emotional release. This came up on the list. A positive mindset, social support, mind-body practices, healing trauma, and having healthy relationships. All
great.
Make a difference for lung health. So I'm going to put a link to those things below this video. And I also want to remind you of our beautiful lung blend. It does have most of the herbs that I just talked about.
Yes.
There are remedies that were put on, herbal remedies that were put on the earth, plants for humans to help us stay well. And a lot of them have specific properties for specific systems and organs. So take a look at our beautiful lung blend, and also take a look at the idea of maybe getting a nebulizer for your home to have in cases where you might need it. And in your case, you're lucky because you had an oxygen, what's it called?
Oxygen concentrator.
Yeah.
I just needed extra oxygen.
Is that easy to get? Is it something you can have at your home?
Yeah, I mean, if you want, I use it. Just I didn't really need it, but I'm just like, I don't want to.
You have it in your.
I want to have more oxygen. So.
Yeah. No, maybe I'll put a link to that if it's relevant.
Oxygen concentrators, or you can get them. You can buy them used. I mean, yeah.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, if you guys have any questions about lung health, I think this was a very overdue update on taking care of your lungs and just the importance of something simple like exercising and how it can affect your lung health and breath work. I really love that.
And I think the last thing that I would say is, again, what I said a little bit earlier, but lungs can regenerate. And you've got to think of lungs almost like healing a sprained ankle. It's like you've got a sprained lung. You can heal it, but you've got to rehab it. You've got to rehab your lungs. And people don't think of lungs that way. They just think, oh, what am I going to do? Well, you have to give your lungs a little bit of stress bit by bit until they're completely healthy. And I think that's so important to remember, is you've got to treat it differently than it's like a sprained lung. Think of it like that.
Yeah. Well, and think about
rehab.
The only way you get your muscles stronger is to exercise them and do stuff that's hard.
You have to exercise your lungs.
It's like when I had my knee surgery, I could have never had the results I have now if I hadn't gone through the rehab. So rehabbing your lungs can be as simple as saying, okay, I feel really good and healthy right now. I don't have lung problems, but what am I going to do that's proactive to keep my lungs healthy?
Excellent.
Okay, guys, thanks for tuning in. Thank you for stopping by.
You're welcome.
You're amazing. His alarm went off. It's time for him to go. Anyway, thanks, guys, and we'll see you next time.